Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today I'd like to talk about Derek Chauvin's guilty verdict. What does that mean to the black community and what it doesn't mean in reality? For some people in the black community, Derek Chauvin's being found guilty for some of the African American in America, it's a happy occasion and it's a movement which blacks feel this is some type of victory. And in the beginning of the George Floyd's death by this murderer, white supremacist race soldier, I have said during the times of the protests that the US government will willfully give up Derek Chauvin to the wolves, and so they can save white supremacy and so they can save systemic racism and make no change in changing laws or policy that will gear away from black, anti-black systemic racism or anti-black laws that benefits whites, and it take away any type of power or improvement to blacks in the US. And I said that the US government will give you a bone, and they just did. They gave us a bone, but it is not a victory because the guilty verdict of Derek Chauvin didn't change any laws. It didn't change any police policies or laws that are against blacks. It didn't change anything. No laws were changed. No police policies were changed. So they gave up one of their own. Derek Chauvin and the scheme of white supremacy was only a pawn on the chessboard. It's just a pawn on the chessboard. The US government didn't give up a queen or a king. The US government didn't even give up a knight. It gave up a pawn on the chessboard. Something that is spendable. They gave us something that is spendable because police, soldiers, and all these things, they did not make laws. They did not make laws. They are just the enforcers of those in power, laws. So we didn't win a battle here. We didn't win a battle. For many blacks, it's a battle won. And I said that no, it's not a battle won. Rather yet, they gave you one of their own. They gave you a pawn. He is collateral damage. They gave up one of their own. He's a POW, a prisoner of war. In the war of fighting blacks, he's just a POW. He's just one of the race soldiers that they gave up. Why? Because they know they don't want to change no laws. So they gave you him, the guilty plea, the guilty verdict. They gave you a guilty verdict. And you don't notice that Joe Biden had a speech prepared. Joe Biden had a speech prepared for the verdict of the verdict in the trials of the death of George Floyd by Derek Chauvin. Biden had a speech ready. So this means that it was staged. Biden had a speech ready. The Secretary General or the Attorney General had a speech ready to give shortly after the verdict of Derek Chauvin was given. That means that they had the speech given by Joe Biden. It shows that they gave up one of their own. They gave up their own. Why? because them giving up Derek, giving him up and let him be found guilty is just giving black peoples a bone. We didn't win anything. We didn't win any battles. No laws were passed. The guilty verdict didn't pass any laws. The guilty verdict didn't change any laws pertaining to systemic racism. As in, while the verdict of Derek Chauvin was coming in, police in Ohio killed a black 15-year-old girl. Just while the guilty plea or the jury was making, the guilty verdict, while the verdict was coming in, another white cop killed a black girl in Ohio. And the same week, while the trial was going on, in the same state, police officer killed an unarmed black man in the same state. Not so far where George Floyd got killed, in the same state by the same police. By the same police in the area. So the guilty verdict for Derek Chauvin doesn't change anything. Didn't change the law. And when you see Joe Biden giving a speech, and had a speech right there prepared, and he gave a speech right after the verdict came in, this means that this is something that is staged. They gave you this. They fed one of their own to the wolves. They sacrificed one of their own for white supremacy to stay in power, because white men understand blacks in America very well. We just give you something without changing nothing. And they gave you something. They gave you a guilty verdict. But they didn't change anything in the laws pertaining to policing and killing blacks. What black people should be doing is challenging the legal system and challenging Joe Biden to change the laws that oppress blacks, change the laws that oppress blacks, and to change the policing in United States, that in the black community, majority of the police look like us and are from us. And if to go to on another angle also, make blacks within the United States a special groups of peoples who have special rights, just like the Native Americans. And changing the laws. So blacks, we didn't win anything with the guilty verdict. Rather yet, the white supremacists, the white power structure in America didn't lose anything. He is spendable. Derek Chauvin, he is expendable. He is collateral damage. And they threw him to the wolves with the guilty verdict. Why? Because white man now doesn't have to change anything about its laws. It hasn't changed anything about systemic racism. And black people are dancing about the guilty verdict, but no laws were passed. So black people, we still are bamboozled. We still allow the white man to bamboozle us. Nothing was changed. We will have a victory. There will be a victory if the legal system removes systemic racism against blacks. That is a victory. Not throwing one of their expendable police officers to throwing them to the blacks, throwing them in jail. This doesn't change anything. It didn't change any laws. Matter of fact, it didn't prevent police within the same week as the trial, didn't prevent the police from killing an unarmed black man in the car. Didn't stop him. So nothing changed. The legal system have not changed. Violating human rights for the blacks has not changed. The racism in America has not changed. Blacks were still the majority in prison while we were the minority in the United States, but we still feel the prison system. Nothing has changed. Blacks are still being shot by police. Nothing has changed. No tangible wealth has been given to the children of former slaves in America. Nothing has changed. No wrongs that people have done. The wrongs the American government had done to black, they haven't made any change. So the guilty verdict did not change systemic racism in America. As I said, they threw one of their own to the wolves. Why? Because he's just a pawn on the board of the game. He's something that is expendable. Every police officer is expendable. Every soldier who goes in the military or fights in a war, he is expendable. That's why they're just soldiers. Soldiers die. Soldiers lose their life. And they replace with another soldier. So while he's in prison, as Derek Chauvin goes to prison, we don't know. They might give him the minimum sentence. We don't know. He might get like 5 years. Might get a minimum sentence. We don't know. So while he will go to prison, they got another white police officer who will take his place. And who will do the same thing that he's doing, will do it all over again. Why? Because nothing in the legal system has changed. Policing policy has not changed. Nothing has changed. And yes, man, I'm on IG now because I'm on Facebook jail. Yeah, I sure am. I'm on here now because I'm on Facebook jail. I think I'm out, inshallah, another 2 or 3 days. But I just want to throw this video out there, you know, because I see a lot of people, blacks, you know, like hallelujah, dancing, kumbaya, we won something. You didn't win nothing with this guilty verdict. Black people didn't win anything. No laws were changed. Systemic racism has not changed. No laws and no policy with policing has not changed. Nothing has changed. So how this is a victory? This is not a victory. Their government will always throw one of their own pawns in jail. Throw them. They're collateral damage. This officers, just like those police officers, just like those soldiers who you seen after 9/11 went overseas to die in Afghanistan and to die in Iraq, just for American government and those in power to get that oil money. That's all he is. That's all this guy is. That's all he is in the end of the day. This guilty verdict, that's all it is. They're just throwing one to the side. And black people, we feel happy like we have a victory. But in reality, we don't have a victory because nothing in the legal system have changed. And they toss one of their own. He is expendable. That's all he is. He's collateral damage. For some whites in America, Derek Chauvin is a martyr. He's like a prisoner of war. You know? Probably might get it 5 years. He might get 5 years and we don't know. He might even get the maximum. Might not get the maximum. Because he has no criminal history. He has no priors. Alright? He has no priors before this. So he might get the minimum. He might just get 5 years. Shoot, I told somebody the other day, you never know. Mess around, I might give him probation. I doubt it. They might give him probation. And if he survive in prison, he's going to be with the Aryan nation. They're going to protect him. Right? And he's like a prisoner of war. You ever see like activists when they go to prison, when the activists stand up for something that's just and right, and this activist goes to prison? Well, for white supremacy, if we go to prison, he's a hero. He's a hero for white supremacy. He's going to definitely be embraced by Aryan nation and white racist hate groups in prison. And they're going to support him in his appeal. You know, it's time for him to make the appeal in the case because the judge almost already made an argument for his appeal. And the argument that the judge in court did for him in his pill, and the closing arguments and the deliberation with the jury, when it was making their deliberation, the judge said, because somebody in politics who happened to be black said, if they don't find this guy guilty, that people are going to continue to protest harder. He said, oh, she should never said that. I'm going to put that as a motion or a reason in his appeal. So even the judge, who is white, making this statement even before the verdict come in. If you listen, even in the court case, while they was going on trial, even the judge brought it up. Why the prosecution got so many different lawyers and stuff, and have all these access and lawyers and witnesses. Why have all these access? Who's paying for this, and who's paying and helping for the defendant? So even the judge himself, he made this type of criticism, showing that even the judge, he's for white supremacy. The judge might just give him a smack on the wrist, might give him the minimum. And black people saying this is a victory for blacks. This is not a victory. Even they gave him 10 years in prison, 5 years in prison, 20 years in prison. It's not a victory for blacks, because you know why? It didn't change nothing in the laws. We're gonna have another race soldier just take his uniform in his place in the precinct that he comes from. Another race soldier is going to take his place. Change or victory is when the legal system changes. When the systemic racism is removed out the legal system. When police start shooting blacks. When police start killing blacks. When police start harassing blacks. When the government stops harassing blacks. When the government stop building prisons to put more black people inside. Then that's when these things stop. Then these are the signs that we're making some type of progress. Until then, this is not progress. It's just they sacrifice one of their own just for black people to go back to sleep. They sacrifice one of their own. He's nobody rich. This guy, he's not a rich guy. He's not rich. He's not famous. He's not famous because he's wealthy. He's a police officer. He's a casual war. They gave him. They sold him. They let him go. They sold him. They're gonna put him in prison. Is just for what? So black people could go back to sleep. So black people could say, "Oh, look, we got a victory. They convicted him." But nothing of the legal system has changed. So the white man and white supremacy gave up one of their own just for black peoples to go back to sleep. Oh, we got a victory. There's no victory. No laws or legal system was changed. Nothing changed in the legal system. Matter of fact, the guilty verdict didn't even prevent police from shooting a black woman. While the verdict is coming in, police in Ohio shot a 15-year-old girl, shot her and killed her. And while the trial was going on, police in the same state killed an unarmed black man in his car, shot him and killed him. And then look at the video that they put out there. It even looked like it was edited to say taser, because you listen to the video and it's saying taser, and then after that the car go off. She said, "Oh, I shot him." You don't even hear the bullet. You don't hear the gun go off through the whole video. You don't hear no gunshots going off. That means that they edited the video most likely, and they probably added in the video taser, hoping to save that white woman who's a police officer. So most likely they falsify and edit the video while the trial is going on. Nothing has changed for blacks in America. Nothing has changed. And this right here, a guilty verdict, will not change none of the conditions right now, because it doesn't change the laws. They trying to. They haven't. Well, Joe Biden signed an executive order for stop Asian hate crimes. Sign an executive order. Why you don't make an order for George Floyd? Because it's gonna cause problems in the white racist power or the white racist system. It's gonna cause a power. It's gonna cause a problem. See, America within this country is thriving off of racism. White people are in power based on racism. The legal system is the way the legal system is set up, and against blacks is by purpose, not by accident. It's by purpose to keep whites at the upper hand while blacks are at the lower end. Why? So power is not exchanged. So power is not exchanged. White man is not stupid in this country. White man, he's very smart, and he has to look at himself and who he is. White man is not stupid. You think this government never looked at what happened in the Caribbean islands historically? What happened to white peoples in the Caribbean islands? What happened to white people in Haiti? What happened to white people in Jamaica when the blacks overthrew them and kicked them out and killed them and kicked them out? Whoever was alive, they kicked them out or they killed them. They fought them. The Haitians fought the French. The Jamaicans fought the British. White man is not stupid. White man in this country is not stupid. White man, no, he don't never want that happen to America. He never want black people to get the upper hand. So why? He put systemic racism in their laws, in their societies, in their thinking, in their culture, so black people could never be ahead or in power because they know we will seek revenge. So they sacrifice one of their own for Negroes to go back to sleep thinking that they won something. Nothing of the legal system has changed pertaining to systemic racism. Nothing has changed. And I will end the video on that note.